how do you sort of move a show forward after sort of confirming one of the central mysteries of the show for 4 seasons?
I think it's, probably much to everybody's chagrin. I think it's part of it is me coming out, being able to come out here and say, as has always been the case with the Blacklist, just don't get too comfortable with what you might think is the truth about anything, or what, I just think it's important to be open to surprise and be open to the fact on the show that when you're given an answer to something, it really also poses more questions. Like, why the hell would a central question to this show be answered in the 4th season with seasons to go? Why would that be? Enough said.
James, I'm curious, I was watching an interview with you recently. You said that you've had the same agent basically since the beginning of your career, and you've played a lot of just incredible roles that have been very irreverent and idiosyncratic. And I'm wondering, even going back to your first role, I was watching a trailer for this movie called The New Kids that you were in.
People have always blamed that on me, and now that you point out and you make that relationship, maybe they should blame it on my agent. Maybe it's my agent who's in fact very idiosyncratic and has that sort of taste. I don't know. It could be.
Well, I'm wondering where your taste lied before you started acting, and what actors made you want to act, and if they were at all along the same line as sort of how you approached characters.
Yes.
So what actors, when you first started, before you got your first role, when you started, were some people that you looked up to that made you want to perform?
I was very lucky. My parents were both teachers, and we really didn't go to the movies very much. I really can't remember a movie we went to. We really never went to the movies. It just wasn't, we didn't have that expendable income. The expendable income was spent on other things, like clothing and books. But in any case, we didn't go to the movies really, and we really didn't watch television very much. We were actually, oddly, we were allowed, it was like, there were these 2 movies that during the course of the year, I don't know how this came to be, but we would sit down when it would show up at that time of year that 2 movies were going to air on television. And at that time there were 3 stations. We would sit down and watch those 2 movies. And they were Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds and Wizard of Oz. And they seemed like an odd choice for a family. But that's what they were. Anyway, and then there were a couple of shows on PBS, like the sort of Mr. Rogers sort of shows, or another one that was called What's New, or What's News, or something like that. Anyway, so we didn't see a lot of movies. I've forgotten the question, but we didn't see a lot of movies growing up. And, I know what it was, but I was very lucky in that I grew up on a boarding school campus where my father was an English teacher. And the head of the art department at the school formed a club, a film club, a sort of an AV club, a film club with students on campus. But if you were a faculty child, once you reached a certain age, you could join the film club as well for some nominal fee. And he would get a print once every 2 weeks or something like that, or once every 3 weeks. He'd get a print of a film and he'd project it, and you'd see a film. And a short. You'd get a short and you'd get a film. And so I joined as soon as I possibly could, because I wasn't able to get to the movies, and I loved movies, so I joined. So the movies I watched growing up were movies that people watched when they were growing up in the 30s and 40s and 50s, and so I was very lucky. I was seeing a broad spectrum of films, and a lot of films that you just wouldn't have seen if you were growing up in the 60s and 70s as I was. So I was seeing like Charles Laughton and Robert Mitchum, and
Night of the Hunter.
Yeah, Night of the Hunter, and
I can see Mitchum's performance in Night of the Hunter.
Yeah, like Hobson's Choice with or Witness Prosecution, Charles Laughton, and just the list goes on and on and on and on. It'd be silly to try and come up with all the different people, but anyway, so those were the influences I had. I was very lucky that way, and then I really was growing up seeing some of the greatest films by some of the greatest filmmakers, and seeing them screened. Not on television, but seeing them screened I'd love